This is Talk. Welcome to the home of common sense. Welcome, of course, also back again is Philip Ingram, former senior military intelligence officer, joining us for the whole show. Good morning to you.
Good morning again.
Well, I mean, so I feel like we ought to have 97-year-old Rabina on the phone every single hour,
yes.
talking about her husband didn't, fight 4 years in a war for the likes of the Keir Starmers and like. Lots and lots of people getting in touch. A lot of people very angry on the phones, on text, on tweet, about these freebies that Keir Starmer and his wife have been getting. But this figure, £107,000 worth of gifts and hospitality since becoming Labour leader, far more than any other MP. I'd love you to give a call, 0344 499 1000 with your reaction to that. Get in touch on X at Talk TV. You can text 87222. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs £1 standard network rate message. Welcome all of your messages. But Philip, so many people just wondered that someone who had set himself up as, basically Mr. Morality, Mr. Whiter than white, Keir Starmer, would realise how this would look. And saying, but these were all within the rules. I've declared these in the registered members' interest. I haven't done anything wrong, so I don't know what the big deal is.
Well, and I think it's interesting, declared in the registered members' interest. I wonder if there's any listeners out there who are tax specialists, because if this was coming in through a private company, you'd have to pay benefit in kind tax for these sorts of things.
This is the thing.
Or is he exploiting a tax loophole to avoid paying tax? That's another issue.
That is a very, very good point. You're right. I mean, again, as I've made very clear, I don't get a clothing allowance, but like someone was giving me my clothes. That is or I suppose if it's not from your employer, then someone could just. Well, someone could just give you.
But his employer.
If you all would like to crowdfund me some new frocks to the tune of £5,000, I'm happy to take that. As long as you're not asking me to talk about certain topics on
it must be capital gains or must be something else, but I suspect he's found some loophole to avoid this getting into his tax
benefits in kind, isn't it? Yeah, but this is the thing. Again, I don't understand why people are giving these free. With all due respect to Keir Starmer, I've had a few conversations with him. I don't think people are going, God, we've got a couple of spaces left in our box, our director's box for the football or for Taylor Swift concert or Coldplay, all of these things he's had freebies for. Who would be a really good laugh on the day or the night? Who should we invite? I know, Keir the Party Starmer. I mean, come on, he's not the most scintillating company. They're inviting him because he was leader of the opposition and he was likely to be Prime Minister, okay? Yep. That's why they're giving him gifts. So why are you giving someone that, he's got enough money to pay for it himself. You know he could get there everywhere else. So why are you extending that hospitality to him? Because you want access to him. Having access to politicians, you don't even need to ask for something specific. Yep. You don't even need to say, can you make sure that my company gets this or my company gets that, or don't change this tax rule because that would impact blah, blah, blah. But you just have the ear. You have the ear of important people. You suggest things. One of the biggest issues in American politics is the amount of time they spend fundraising. They spend most of their time, senators and congressmen and women, talking to very rich people, and they spend less time being concerned about what average Joes care about and how they manage their funds, because they don't spend their time with them. This does impact our politics.
Oh, hugely impacts our politics. As I said earlier, I worked in a company where the head of the company gave political donations or lent some of the stuff that he had to politicians or politicians in opposition and all the rest of it. And he was doing that 100% to buy influence
and
whenever they got elected and buy access. And the Keir Starmer was criticised the previous government for having dinners for Tory donors where the PM would come and they pay thousands of pounds to attend
and if
dinner.
you pay X amount you get to sit with the cabinet minister, X amount you get some lowly MP, and if you pay the big bucks you sit on the Prime Minister's table.
Exactly. And that was criticised. Well, that's what this is all about.
Well, this is the thing. It's one thing. I mean, a lot of people are saying, look, they're all at it, they're all as bad as each other. But Keir Starmer was very critical of Boris Johnson, and I think quite rightly. He wasn't declaring an awful lot of stuff. He was critical. God, he was critical of Rishi Sunak sort of getting helicopters around the country. Again, I've got no issue with that. I'd rather the Prime Minister travelled expensively and efficiently. We're a major nation. I expect I had no issue with Blair Force One as it was initially known. Prime Minister should have a plane that is disposable, or the government ministers to be able to get around quickly. But just don't lecture the rest of us that we need to get the train because of climate change.
Yeah, well, when in opposition, he made political points of all the things that now he's in power, he's exploiting.
Yeah, I mean, again, is it a feeling? Is that the issue that they're all at it?
Well, I don't think they're all at it, because we're not getting these stories about everyone.
No, exactly.
We've seen scandals before.
And the number is certainly £107,000 and £145 is how much he claimed. The next big claim, total value since the 2019 general election, is Lucy Powell, who's obviously now in government, but she was Culture Secretary. That was £40,000. Now, my guess is in that role,
she'll get lots of freebies.
She gets but you're invited to attend.
Yes.
You can't be the Culture Secretary and not attend the opera, the ballet, and other major culture and sporting events. So she would get those tickets, and then she has to declare them. I don't have an issue with that. That's part of the gig. Then after that is Greg Smith, who's a Tory, on 32 grand. Karen Bradley, a Tory, on 23 grand. Sir John Whittingdale, Tory, 18 grand. You have to start questioning some of those. But you go way down. I mean, Ed Davey, Lib Dem leader, 16.5 grand. A lot of... But the main thing is these sums, they'll go, well, these are tiny sums, these really little things. But these are bigger than a lot of people's earnings.
Yeah,
that's what people, But £4 grand for Taylor Swift tickets. So again, many families would have loved to have taken their kids to Taylor Swift concerts. I get the tube home every day. For like a week and a half, I had loads of girls and young women as well in their sequins, in their finery, on the way to Wembley on my train journey home, and and often a sort of rather bemused-looking dad in charge. And what a lovely thing to be able to do. But people will have saved up for years to buy these things. They'll have to forgo other things to be able to afford tickets, even if they were 150, the whole family, that's a lot of money. But you've had £1,000 tickets, 4 of them, and they just think that it's about being out of touch, isn't it? That if you just think that that's normal, that's just not how most people live their lives.
Well, completely out of touch. And he didn't have to queue up online for those tickets. He trumped over everyone else that was queuing to get to the head of the queue to get given to them. So he just those little people, they don't care. I've got my tickets.
Yeah, and I'm not in favour of the whole MPs need to live on minimum wage. So no, I want people to have a decent salary as an MP, and particularly as Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister should probably be paid more. Yeah, actually, although they do get free accommodation. To be fair, you live your family and you live for free.
That's a benefit in kind, does he?
That's a benefit in kind, yeah. You're obsessed, man. Sue Gray, she must be paying a lot of tax. Chief of Staff paid 170 grand a year, 3 grand more than the Prime Minister, about 30 grand less than the Cabinet Secretary, who she hates, he hates her. He's going to be out of a job in a few months. Basically, if you don't get on with Sue Gray, you are not going to be able to stay working in Downing Street. She's making a lot of enemies. That's the only reason we know how high her salary is. I'm wondering if one of her enemies right now is Keir Starmer. How on earth is she paid 3 grand more than me? Apparently because he helped agree that. Yeah.
And is there a model of a previous Prime Minister who brought in a special advisor who created enemies throughout Downing Street, and that worked out very well indeed? Maybe Keir's...
Does it rhyme with Mominic Dummings?
Yes.
But this is extraordinary, isn't it? Again, I just do wonder, do these people have husbands or wives or friends or just colleagues who go, it's probably not a good idea. Probably, obviously I've got people who tell me it's probably not a good idea, and then I do it anyway. But at least I've been given the advice. But I just think, again, we are 11 weeks in. 11 weeks into this new government, and we've got 2-tier Keir, now free gear Keir.
Yes.
This stuff is going to dog him throughout. He's going to go to party conference. He's going to be speaking, I think, next Tuesday at Labour Party conference. We're going to be having the budget. We're told it's going to be painful on October the 30th. Because actually doesn't make any difference to me whether he gets 107 grand's worth of freebies or 7 grand's or 7 pence worth of freebies. Doesn't make a difference to my life. But when he's in the position to make a decision about things like whether or not someone on very, very low income as a pensioner is getting their £300 a year winter fuel allowance, or whether people are claiming disability benefits or child benefit, whatever it is, when he's in a position to make that decision, then it is our business, right? And we're all going to be impacted by the October the 30th budget. If people like him and Rachel Reeves, if they are just completely out of touch with what ordinary people, ordinary voters think, that's a worry.
Yeah, it's a big worry, and it's clear they are completely out of touch. And Sue Gray is paid £170,000 a year to be his conscience. And to highlight these issues. If she's creating more controversy by herself, then...
Alistair Campbell said, if you become the news, exactly. Look, talk about controversy, let's talk about what's going on in the Middle East, because we had that, audacious doesn't do justice to that attack on Pages by, let's face it, we all know it would have been Mossad, the Israeli intelligence organisation, on Hezbollah militants, and some 3,000 injured, and we think 12 people dead, including children. Now, it's very, very tragic that children died, but in terms of a casualty hit rate. I mean, civilians dying, it's a very, very low one. We are talking about war. Hezbollah are currently firing rockets into Israel. Their choice to start doing that on October the 8th. No one was firing rockets at them at that point. And of course, Hezbollah is a prescribed terrorist organisation by the UK and the US. Basically, Israeli forces, we believe, basically somehow getting into these pages, booby-trapping them, a signal is sent, and pretty much within 1 hour, all of these pages going off, and a huge number of people injured. I mean, we're talking people losing eyes, wounds around their hips, where their stomachs, where their pages were, hands. Now, look, do I want human beings maimed? No. Do I want Hezbollah terrorist militant fighters taken out of action? 1 in 30, we believe. I absolutely do. I would feel exactly the same if it was Hamas, if it was Al Qaeda, if it was ISIS. Day later, we get this attack on walkie-talkies. What happened there?
Well, the walkie-talkies were bought at the same time. It's clear that they came in the same batch and through the same supply chain as the pages.
They were sitting in warehouse for months, weren't they?
I'm not sure the detail of where they came in, but this is clearly a supply chain attack. And what that means is from where they were manufactured at somewhere as they're being transported, they've gone into a warehouse somewhere where they've been re-engineered to put these explosive devices in.
That's the term a former military intelligence officer uses.
And then go back out into the supply chain with the end customer, Hezbollah, not knowing.
And they would have known that that's where they were going to, because the main thing is after various attacks we've seen, by successful attacks on leading Hamas and Hezbollah leaders, they've basically said, we're going to stop using mobile phones as our form of contact. We're going to use lower sort of tech ways of contacting, like pagers, which can't be traced with GPS. So they moved to the pagers. Mossad knew they'd moved to the pagers, and that's why they infiltrated them. And then day after the pager attack, they then obviously moved to the walkie-talkies.
Well, they've had the walkie-talkies, but and clearly Israel, or if it was Israel, had put the explosive devices into the walkie-talkies, and they just decided that this was a double tap attack, which is.
I'm assuming there's also an element where they'll probably, where they think that they're probably going to check all their other weaponry, all their tools.
They'll move to something else.
So we may as well use it or lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point. And was it an act of war? Was it an act of terrorism?
No, it's not an act of terrorism. It's
an act of war, obviously.
It's legitimate self-defense from Israel, because this was a military organisation that's attacking Israel, that's caused the displacement of tens of thousands of civilians, has caused the death of a number of civilians, that's rocketing Israel on a daily basis. So there's a legal basis to attack the military organisation in Hezbollah that they did. It was proportional in that they didn't use 500-pound bombs from aircraft that would destroy complete apartments and create more collateral damage. Under Article 52 of the Geneva Protocols, that is allowed as well. So, it's
very interesting
legal.
from a man who knows. Look, I mean, I know some international lawyers are querying that. We're going to be talking about that in a few minutes as well. I've got lots of calls coming in about the freebies for Keir, but also about that second audacious attack by, we believe, Mossad on Hezbollah militants.